You notice a slight change in the field, in the vibration of your body. It's amazing how sound and vibration can really shift your physiology and your consciousness instantaneously. And I'm really excited, actually, because I feel like we are at the dawn of an entirely new age, a new era of consciousness. Much like the era before there was a microscope, our ancestors had no idea that there was this tiny microcosmic world of bacteria and atoms and stuff like that. That's kind of where we're at right now in terms of energy. We're literally swimming in an energetic ocean. We are swimming in each other's energy right now. We can't see it, and we can't really detect it accurately with any modern scientific apparatus. But believe me, it's happening. And actually, the more sophisticated that our technology becomes, the more that we're actually going to be able to monitor that and actually prove that we are literally physically interconnected through vibration. So like I said, it's really, really exciting. One day our children are going to look back and think about this time and just kind of go, wow, they were so prehistoric. They didn't even realize that we had energy bubbles and, we were like sending each other energy and that we were all connected through sound. And one of my really big passions and recognitions is the fact that our entire planet is a living organism. It is a Gaia mind, a Gaia heart. We are all cells within that organism. Literally, just like within the brain, there's different types of cells and neurotransmitters that have different functions. So too are we here on the surface of our planet, performing different functions within the collective consciousness of our planet. And as we go on through my presentation, you guys hopefully will learn a little bit about how powerful your vibrational field is, how powerful sound is. To me, sound is one of the most direct and ancient tools for transformation of consciousness. So if we can begin, Felicia, the next slide. So, really from the largest galactic membranes to the smallest quantum particles, everything in the universe is vibration. Vibration creates patterns. That's what we're really beginning to understand now. Light vibration creates patterns, and in particular, sound vibration actually affects physical particles and creates specific geometric shapes. And I'm actually going to show you video of that happening in real time during this presentation. So sound is one of the primary manifestations of vibration. I like to think of sound as a very primordial element, just like light. Sound has been around, some say, from the very dawn of consciousness. In fact, the sacred traditions that many of us come from, which include Christianity, if you look at the Bible says, and God said, let there be light. If you look at physics, for example, astrophysics, their current theory for the actual creation of the universe, what's it called? It's called the Big Bang. And that's another expression of sound. In the Hindu, in the Native American, almost all sacred traditions actually honor the power of sound to create our physical world. So what's amazing to me right now is that we are at an intersection. We're at an intersection point between ancient wisdom and modern technology. There have been certain people and certain enlightened masters that have been studying the energetic fields and studying how sound affects our body and affects the planet for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. But what's happening right now is we are at an intersection point where we can actually use modern technology, such as functional magnetic resonance imaging and different types of scientific apparatuses, to actually validate and actually show us in real time that sound and vibration and yoga is actually physiologically changing our energy fields. One of the most, I like this picture, it's kind of cute, One of the most amazing discoveries of literally the 21st century, from my perspective, has come from the work of a person named Dr. Alfred Tomatis. He's an ear, nose, and throat surgeon based out of France. What he discovered is that actually sound waves actually nourish the brain. I'm going to say that again. Sound waves actually nourish your brain. So just like plants get energy from sunlight, and they convert the energy of sunlight into different types of glucose and energy to live, our brains convert the energy from sound waves into energy that they use to perform the daily functions of our lives. So that's a mind-blowing and incredible concept to understand. Once we really recognize the fact that certain sound frequencies can actually nourish our brains, we also can understand the fact that certain sound frequencies and vibrations can actually deplete us. It's like if we eat a lot of junk food or a lot of stuff that throws us out of balance, our bodies can get kind of out of alignment. It's the same thing with different sounds that we listen to. So certain sounds, in particular nature sounds, have a very, very balancing and powerful effect on our brain. The reason that nature sounds are so powerful, they're actually beginning to understand why that is because they have a full spectrum bandwidth of sound. So, for example, think about the ocean. Like when we go to the ocean and we sit there and we listen to that sound of just shh, right? It has a full spectrum bandwidth of sound, and that actually nourishes our brain, you know, and it feeds our consciousness and feeds our physiology. What's amazing is that almost everything in the universe actually emanates a vibration and emanates a sound. Literally each of your bodies right now is emanating a vibration. It's emanating a sound. If we had technology, and we will, we're already like this close to having a microphone that could actually measure the sound of each person and measure the vibration of your physiology. But right now, what we are actually able to do is measure the vibration of our planet. That's pretty incredible. NASA's been doing this for the past 50 years based on the work of incredible researcher and scientist named Winifred Schumann. And thus, the actual vibration of the Earth is based, according to his name, it's called the Schumann resonance. And that resonance is actually 7.812 cycles per second. So our Earth is actually beaming an energy out into space.
Cycles of what?
Sound is measured in cycles per second, which stands for hertz. So cycles per second, it's basically sound cycles per second. And I could explain that after my presentation. But our Earth is literally beaming an energy into space. Just pause for 1 second and think about that. Our Earth is beaming a sound, like a galactic song, into space. I mean, that kind of gives me chills when I think about that, you know, ultimately everything in the universe is communicating through vibration, you know. Stars are communicating to each other through light vibrations. Even though they're millions and millions of light years apart, their light is able to travel that. And just like we send messages through radio and through television, stars are able to communicate certain information through those light patterns. But that's an entirely different conversation that if we had a lot more time, I'd get into, because it's one of my favorite things to talk about. So what we're beginning to understand is that sound vibration literally can guide particles within our body into specific patterns. This is one of the earliest images of sound vibrations on a metal plate, literally just a piece of steel covered in salt. And there's a speaker underneath it. And what's happened is that a certain frequency, when you repeat it over and over again, it actually creates the same patterns. So let's go on to the next slide. So certain patterns keep coming up over and over again based on the actual frequencies that you use. And if you look at some of these patterns, if you look at, for example, the pattern on the far left, does that look familiar? It looks like the flower of life, yeah? It also looks like the Star of David. It looks like a lot of fundamental, primordial, sacred geometries. And so there really is a deeper meaning behind these ancient stories and myths of creation, of how sound actually brought the universe into existence. Now, this entire field is emerging right now. This field, which is called cymatics, which comes from the Greek word chyma, which means wave, is just beginning to develop over these last 50 years. Because, as I said, technology is finally catching up to what we've known for thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Right? Okay, let's go on to the next slide. So these are some of the pictures of specific frequencies in water. And basically what we did is we took a device called the cymoscope, which I'm going to show you a picture of. It's basically a device that has a membrane, and then underneath it is a speaker, and it's coated with particles. And we send vibrations through it, and we actually see the different images that are created by an HD digital camera that's mounted in the top of that. This is what the actual cymoscope looks like, this image right here. And now go to the next slide. This is actually in real time. Do we have sound? Can you hear the sound coming from the computer, if possible? So this is in real time. It's a metal plate. Some of you may have seen this on YouTube, yeah? So this is a speaker underneath a giant metal plate with salt particles on top of it. And as they change the different frequencies, you're actually going to see the different patterns that it creates. Take a second to just look at this. The higher the frequencies, the more intricate the pattern. It actually begins to double onto itself. But many of you have seen mandalas, you've seen a lot of the ancient yantra work. Many of those patterns can be seen within the cymatics that we're visualizing right now. So let's go on to the next video. This next video is a video that myself and my colleague actually created using the cymoscope. It's a little bit more modern interpretation. This is a Pink Floyd track, which is one of my favorites. And this is actually observing cymatics in water. So like, you're one of the first few groups, for real, that's actually ever seen these images right now. This is not on YouTube. This is straight out of the laboratory. So this is water pulsing to the actual vibrations of sound, and you're observing those fundamental patterns that are being created through that. Whoa. In contrast to like an iTunes type visualizer, what we're actually seeing here is the actual geometries of the sound waves. The light parts of the pattern is the actual space, and the dark parts is the actual sound waves. Because what sound does is it actually pushes the water out of the way and it forms ridges. Okay? So the dark spots are the actual sound waves. The lighter spots are the ridges that are formed through those sounds. Okay, great. So, I could look at this stuff forever. It's amazing. Like I said, we're literally at the dawn of a completely new era of understanding. I mean, like, most people on this planet right now don't even recognize that our words, that our sounds are actually creating these types of patterns inside of our bodies and all around us. We don't really know that yet. I mean, think about how amazing that is. Once we actually begin to study the science of that, to begin to study in depth how our words, how our prayers, how our songs, how our music can actually help to physically shift and shape the consciousness of our planet. Amazing. So let's go on to a couple more slides and then we'll take some questions. These are just a few more images of sound waves in water, cymatics. So yeah, I'm going to leave you with this question in mind. Just based on the 15 or 20 minutes that I've talked to you today, based on that information, that your sound waves are actually physically changing the particles in your body, what are you going to do with that knowledge? What are you going to do with that wisdom? You know, I invite you to ponder that as you go out into your daily life. You know, and some people believe that our words are our prayers, our songs are our prayers. You know, I just really invite you to meditate on that and be really, really conscious of the sound that you create, and use sound as a tool to elevate your life and the lives of those around you. Thank you very much. Yes?
I'm just wondering how you define nourishment of the brain.
Well, you know, basically, if you'd like to really learn more about that, I invite you to study the work of Dr. Tomatis. He has devoted probably 50 years of research and innovation. But in a way, basically, our eardrum receives sounds, and they're actually learning now that our eardrum actually creates sound, which is kind of mind-blowing in and of itself. Like, our body is actually creating sound. But what happens is that certain sounds that come in through our eardrum, they're directly connected to our cortex of our brain. And so the sound is transformed from our eardrum to our brain, and it's literally like, I mean, just like the particles are moving on the surface of this membrane, the particles within your brain are moving due to the sound waves, and that's stimulating the brain in different ways. Like I said, there's a lot of research online. Even if you want to look up Dr. Alfred Tomatis, you could learn all about that. I mean, he's doing some incredible work actually helping children that are deaf, helping children with developmental disabilities, and actually using sound to actually transform and regulate that and bring them back into homeostasis and bring them back into health. It's pretty amazing. Yes?
One more quick question, sorry. How possible is it to see thoughts amplified as sound through one of the machines that you were showing us, the new voice? Or are we not there yet?
Well, what is possible? You know, that's a great question, and I do believe that we're actually on the verge of seeing the energetic bubbles, so to speak, that our thoughts create. You know, because literally, I mean, if you study neuroscience, the way that thoughts occur is by electrical impulses occurring from our neurotransmitters. So there's literally like an electromagnetic pulse that happens when we have different thoughts. But to answer your question, what is one of the most amazing things that actually changed my life forever was actually taking a microphone and speaking or singing into the cymoscope, and actually seeing how by changing my thoughts and changing my sounds, I would actually physically, in real time, see different types of patterns being created. And one of the most incredible moments was when I actually created a Star of David using my voice. Like, it was just like unbelievable. So thank you guys so much. If you want, can you go on to the next slide? If you guys want to contact me, this is one of my newest projects, which is called Earth, which is based on the frequency of the planet Earth, the Schumann resonance. I also did a whole series based on the elements of water and light. We actually translated the hydrogen and oxygen molecule and translated their harmonics into sound. So you could actually, for the first time, actually hear the harmonics of water. So last slide, if you guys want any kinds of more information, or if you want to contact me, the website is called discoversound.com, and I'd be more than happy to connect with each and every one of you. So many, many blessings.